Lexus continues to tease us about its upcoming battery electric lineup that should be here by the end of the decade. So today we're going to go over the pictures that they've recently shared with us, and we're also going to talk about their product cadence and lineup in the next decade to figure out where things are going for the brand. All right, we're going to start with a 3-row electric crossover here, and door handles flush into the body. Now this image isn't exactly new, but we're going to go to this image. We haven't seen a side profile of this before. To me, the wheelbase looks the longest like I've ever seen in any Lexus vehicle. It looks big and large, as it should for a 3-row crossover. These doors in the back also look massive. I almost wish that they were sliding doors, but hey, that's what Toyota minivans are for anyways. From the side profile, I think it looks great. What do you guys think? Now, when we saw images of the Toyota counterpart, they look nearly identical. So we'll see how they change as we get closer to production. And we'll talk about when these vehicles are likely to hit production. I think we're a ways off, unfortunately. But let's keep the excitement going, because the back end looks pretty darn good. A little bit chunky, but minimal. They have the Lexus typed out here on the back. It looks like the rear windshield wiper is tucked up underneath the spoiler there. It just says Lexus electric or electrified SUV. So they don't have official names for it quite yet. But I think it's a fantastic looking and should be extremely functional 3-row crossover. We don't have a functional 3-row crossover yet in the Lexus lineup. We'll talk about more about the TX in this video today as well. The next vehicle could very well be the successor to the IS. We've seen a few different shots of it, including what you see on the screen, but this side profile we have not seen yet. And this thing just looks dead sexy from the side. I don't know what else to say about it. The wheels look great. The lines on the side, the sloping roof line, it just looks so small back here compared to what we see on existing Lexus models. And the aggressive hood, look at the bulging hood. Yes, the bulging hood that we see in the IS 500. It just looks excellent. And we see it from the back here, and it just says Lexus electrified sedan. And we haven't seen more pictures of its counterpart, possibly the larger sedan. I don't know what they're going to call it. They could call it like electrified liftback, because it's more of a 5-door sort of vehicle that looks like it could be the replacement, or should I say the successors of both the ES and the LS going forward. Very strange what's going to happen with both of those vehicles. But the rear of this looks pretty aggressive, just like the front does. You have this really small duckbill spoiler, just gorgeous lines. It looks like a future IS, and that's all we need, because the current IS just looks so good. So just refine it, give it more power, have some fun with it. And this is our best look of the battery electric rear wheel drive coupe, kind of like the LFA successor. Could have solid state battery, 0 to 60 in around 2 seconds, range over 400 miles of range. Lex has given us some new shots of it. That shot right there, you see with the back end, it racing or driving with the LFA. Of course, these are just renders. I'm sure they have actual prototypes working somewhere to confirm the numbers they're talking about. But yes, I cannot wait to see when this vehicle comes out. But unfortunately, it's probably just a decade away or so. It's spreadsheet time. We're going to see what we have here coming up for Lexus. And we're going to go through every single model in the lineup. Now, you have to realize, like that 3-row crossover, we don't have a name for it yet. We don't have a name for some of those other electrified vehicles, actually any of the electric vehicles in the Lexus lineup. And we have really no idea when they're coming out. One of my notes says by 2030, all new redesigns / models will be battery electric. The IS looks like a straight replacement for the IS, but Lexus management recently has said that there are powertrains waiting for the IS after 2024, 2025. So it's too much for me to speculate about, but let's go model by model and see what's going on here. RC, well, the RC is dead. And the reason why I'm saying the RC is dead is because a few different reasons. The RC is pretty much around right now, even though sales are terrible on it. They refreshed it because Lexus Racing uses it as their GT3 car, but Toyota just shared a new GT3 concept on the Toyota end that's likely to be a Lexus, and this is probably going to replace the RC and the LC as we know them. V8's likely gone. Hybrid twin turbo V6 or inline 6 would be my guess for this GT3 replacement of the LC and the RC. And long term, we know there's a coupe convertible like vehicle coming that Lexus showed us on the battery electric announcement. So We need to keep moving. The IS, this one, like I said, is tough. We just got a redesign, and it's probably going to be replaced by the EV model in 2025. Look, the IS is being killed in many parts of the world. Australia, most of Europe doesn't get the new IS because of emissions and safety regulations. So this new battery electric replacement needs to come out. And this is a big question I have. Are they going to have battery electric variants of the vehicle as well as combustion engine variants of the vehicles available for sale at the same time? And that leads us to the ES, their best-selling sedan. It was redesigned in 2019. It was refreshed in 2022. Make sure you check out that review of the F Sport that I had. Excellent vehicle. We know production is heading back to Japan. They're canceling production here in the United States by the end of 2023, I believe. So to me, that says that more than likely there's going to be a battery electric replacement for the ES, and it's likely to be that liftback that we saw. To me, that makes the most sense because it is the largest volume seller for Lexus. So they need to have battery electric version of it pretty darn soon in order for their sedans to be more viable in multiple parts of the world. So we'll see if they plan to sell, like I said, battery electric versions of the ES or that 5-door liftback alongside internal combustion engine variants. So moving on to the LS's future is very uncertain. It's probably very up there with the RC and the LC in terms of its future. We had a redesign to the LS 500. They dropped the V8, put in twin turbo V6. It's used in a lot of Toyota Lexus products now. And we just got a refresh in 2021. The issue is sales are so bad on the LS, it costs them a lot of money. No one's really interested in it. And there was no direct replacement for the LS when Lexus made their battery electric vehicle announcement. So I think the LS, the ES, the RC even are all going to meld into this very moldable vehicle that has different variants, cross-country sort of variants, street variants, convertible variants. To me, that makes the most sense from a cost perspective, is to meld them into one sort of vehicle and just have variants based off that one vehicle. And are we going to see a redesign of it in 2025? I doubt it. This is kind of placeholder from an old spreadsheet, but I'm just going to put nothing there. The LS might be dead, which is a huge blow to the history of the brand, but we'll see. I'm just not going to get my hopes up for where things are going right now. Lexus UX. This is a huge question mark. The UX looks like it could be replaced by something different. We saw in the battery electric announcement that there was this strange vehicle in the back left that didn't have any resemblance of what we currently see. So I think the UX will go on in certain parts of the world as the UX 300E for compliance purposes and for necessity in those specific markets. But I think the UX ultimately gets replaced by a Corolla Cross-like vehicle that's bigger, has better powertrains, and possibly even a plug-in hybrid, almost guaranteed as a plug-in hybrid because of the electrified lineup that we've been showed. We're definitely not getting a refresh. Like I said, old spreadsheet here. It's not happening in 2022. So I think the UX probably gets retired or just a redesign here before the end of its typical product stack. So maybe a redesign by 2025 into that plug-in hybrid Corolla Cross sort of vehicle. I think that's the most likelihood, or the greatest likelihood there. Lexus NX. Great things ahead for the NX. Just got a redesign, plug-in hybrid turbos, naturally aspirated. My sister just picked up NX 250 Premium. She loves the technology in there, loves the looks of it. Next refresh, it's going to be a ways from now. I mean, 2025, that's their typical product cadence for refreshes. And what's interesting to me is that the next NX redesign comes out probably in the late decade here. And I think that is a good opportunity for Lexus to have one last hurrah at their hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and possibly even the turbo engine is one last refinement of that. And the reason is because I believe by 2030, every single new model introduction or redesign will be battery electric. So 2028 is a good last hurrah for the NX crossover to have internal combustion engines. Lexus RX, same sort of thing here. So here we are, we're getting a redesign in 2023. Well, at the end of this year, 2023 model year, end of 2022. And that will set it up perfectly for 2029 redesign, where they have one last iteration of internal combustion engines before the RX goes fully electric. The issue is as they start introducing vehicles like the RZ, are they going to discontinue the RZ by 2030 and just have the RX going forward as a fully battery electric vehicle? They're just going to have so many different names, especially if they have, let's say, an IS battery electric that is selling at the same time as an IS internal combustion. It's like, how are they going to differentiate these names in the next decade? And what does that look like going after? It's just really confusing. And I'm probably making this more confusing for you guys as I try to figure out what Lexus is doing. But the RX is looking to have a phenomenal decade here as we get a redesign at the end of this year. And then we'll get a refresh of it probably 2026, redesign in 2029 again. And let's talk about the GX. GX is old as dirt, came out around 2010, I should say. Last refresh 2020, but you could say the 2022 refresh was a small refresh as they reworked the infotainment in there finally. So I'm expecting a redesign in the 2025 model year. So maybe late 2024 for the GX. We're hearing GX 550, so detuned twin turbo V6 more than likely for this vehicle, and expect more off-roading variants. They didn't give it to us really with the LX, at least not here in the States, as Japan gets triple lockers for the LX in some variations in Japan. But anyways, hopefully the GX kind of carries that torch for the Lexus off-roading division. We know Toyota has their TRD 4Runners and things like that, but it would be nice if GX gets that same sort of treatment because it's based off the Prado, one of the best and most reliable off-roading vehicles in the world. Lexus LX. This is kind of fun to talk about because we just got the redesign, loved it. Make sure to watch my driving impressions of the LX on and off-road. We'll get a refresh mid-decade, maybe later, but I don't ever see a replacement for the LX, at least in the foreseeable future. And that means in the next decade or two. The reason is like I said, by 2030, all their vehicles will be battery electric. Can you imagine an LX battery electric selling in Saudi Arabia, in Africa? That doesn't make any sense. So the LX and the GX will be some of the last vehicles in the Lexus lineup, or the longest models lasting the Lexus lineup into the 2030s, still having internal combustion engines. And until we have batteries that can charge in 5 minutes with 500 plus miles of range, I just don't see a battery electric GX, LX ever happening, as those vehicles need to have gasoline essentially in them, at least with today's infrastructures. So upcoming vehicles though, this is pretty exciting. TX will be coming probably by the end of 2023 as a 2024 model year, but it might be end of 2024 as a 2025 model year. And that's tough for me to see because Lexus has kind of dropped the ball when it comes to a viable family hauler, and they know that they have, and that's why they're introducing this TX that's also going to be sharing production with the Toyota Grand Highlander in Indiana. We're still probably 2 years out at least for the TX, while the QX60 just got a redesign. That's going to be snapping up sales. The MDX, which I love the MDX, fantastic. I haven't drove the new QX60 yet, so hopefully I can get in line for that. But there's just so many other, not only luxury three-row crossovers, but mainstream three-row crossovers. I just reviewed the CX-9, which is getting replaced. So like Mazda's coming out the CX-90, which could hit the market before the TX and be a slightly more affordable. We'll see. It'll be interesting. And that will have an inline six, where the TX is going to have a turbo 4, but it's also going to be a hybridized. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when the TX comes out. What kind of competition is it going to have? How big is it going to be? Because Toyota just doesn't have, and Lexus for that matter, just doesn't have a viable three-row crossover in their lineup. 350L RX is a joke. GX, too small for storage, and the LX storage is even smaller than the last generation 570 storage. So they need this TX on the market as of like 5 years ago, and yeah, we're still 2 to 3 years out. And the RZ450E should be out by the very end of this year as a 2023 model, so probably November, December we're looking. We'll have around 300 horsepower to 0 to 60, pretty modest for a luxury vehicle, around 5.5, which is fast enough for me on a day-to-day basis. I'm expecting, hopefully, fingers crossed, 300 miles of range. Toyota said that Lexus is a better fit for larger capacity batteries because they can charge more for them. So we'll see what kind of range the RZ will have, but we'll know more this spring about the RZ because we're getting an official reveal, I believe, in March and April, somewhere around there. I was going to cover some other news today, but this video went on really long, so I'm going to end it there. Are you excited for where things are going for Lexus to become fully battery electric? I know that's exciting and also scary for a lot of us. I also didn't have on this list vehicles like the 3-row crossover, like the battery sports car electric, because who knows when those vehicles will come out. Even though Lexus is teasing, that's the crazy thing. They tease these vehicles, the IS, the 3-row crossover, and the sport coupe, battery electric vehicles. But guys, we could be 5+ years away from any of those vehicles dropping. So I hope I'm wrong. Hopefully they come out before then, but I'm going to end the video here. If you enjoyed today's peek into the future for Lexus, smash the like button, subscribe for more Lexus news and reviews. Like I said, RX and RZ should be coming out by the end of the year. We'll give you guys hands-on driving impressions of both of those bad boys. See you in the next video. As always, peace out.